Hi, my name's Nick Haig. I'm an Anglican priest and the vicar of the parishes of Fernhurst, Lynchmere and Cannelsdale here in West Sussex. And this is the latest in my series of Sunday reflections for Sunday the 14th of June. I've been thinking a lot this week about statues, as I'm sure a lot of you have. We've had the spectacle exactly a week ago of the 18th century slave trader Edward Colston. Well, his statue at least, his bronze statue, being ripped from its plinth and thrown into Bristol Harbour. We've had the statue of a somewhat better known figure, that of Winston Churchill, defaced. The Black Lives Matter movement has taken root from America, where the outrage of the killing of a black man at the hands of the police sparked all sorts of things, pent-up feelings, has spread across the world. And this country has had lots of protests, marches, and all the rest of it. Other statues have been defaced too. Some statues have been boarded up, that of Churchill not least. Some statues have been removed and put in museums. It's started a debate on how we do view the past. How do we do view history? What can history teach us? Should we vilify those who've come before simply because they did what we consider today would be something abhorrent? We've got to remember that everybody, including us, are steeped in a particular culture. As somebody famously said, the goldfish in its bowl doesn't know it's wet. But clearly, wrongs have been perpetrated on countless people in the past, and I'm not making light of the Black Lives Matter movement, far from it. I think their voices need to be heard, as do so many other peoples in this world who are oppressed and downtrodden, who've had a raw deal from the word go by others in other cultures as they've clashed together. I'm going to read the Gospel reading for today, which is from St Matthew's Gospel, chapter 9, beginning at verse 35, which actually tells of another downtrodden people. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. And Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every affliction. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the labourers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out labourers into his harvest." When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. There's some very rich words there that Christ uses. Compassion we should read as being something to do with the guts. I'll read from a particular commentator here who says, "It sounds archaic, hardly short of embarrassing, to say that Jesus saw the crowds and felt pity for them in his bowels, but it would be a more accurate rendering of the text." The Greek word is the root of the verb used, meaning viscera, bowels or womb. It's the sort of gut-wrenching feeling you get when you're really, really moved by somebody's plight. Jesus felt, well, compassion doesn't do it justice, does it? Have we tried to rewrite history when we've made the Bible nice and respectable? Perhaps we have. Jesus was really moved internally. He had a physical feeling in the pit of his stomach for these people who were harassed and helpless. Well, there too our modern translators sell us short. Let me read this from another commentator. He sees crowds suffering from violence, Harassed can mean flaying or skinning, violence and plunder. Helpless can mean a throwing down and a laying down, often in violent contexts, including abandonment, imperial violence, war and death. Jesus sees people who are oppressed, downtrodden, beat up and crushed. The historical and literary contexts indicate Rome and the religious elite as those who inflict social, economic, political, and religious abuse with misrule. Serious stuff, isn't it? I was looking at statues this morning in St Margaret's Church. The hot news, and I've got another piece of news towards the end of the video as well. The hot news at the moment is that we're being allowed to open our churches for private, individual prayer and reflection from Monday. And so we're looking at the church as to how we can do that, making sure that you can socially distance, that there'll be hand sanitizer available, that there's sufficient space and absence of things that might get in the way. And so we're looking forward to that. But I was looking at our statues in the church. We've got one of St Margaret and her dragon in the chancel just to the left of the altar as you look at the far end, the eastern end of the church. She has, I don't know whether it's an accident of the colour of the wood or whether it's deliberate, she has an olive skin, which is probably the intention of the artist. We have a statue of the Virgin and Child on the south side in the by the south altar. She is fair-skinned, but, well, she's darker than some Virgin Mary statues I've seen. And we've got a statue, a crucifix of Christ across the top of the chancel arch with Mary, his mother, and John, the disciple, the beloved disciple, looking at him. And that's just in oak. They could be whatever colour you wish. But these are people who are not like us. And it's hard to remember that sometimes when we read our English Bibles and we imagine people to be just like us. They weren't. They weren't. And Jesus sees oppression and he sees awful things going on. He sees the imperial rule of Rome, but he also sees the religious elite, those who are privileged in Jewish society, lord it over the people they're supposed to be looking after, the people whose best interests they're supposed to have at heart. And that's why he says they're like sheep without a shepherd. The traditional image of the rulers of Israel has been those of a good shepherd, but the bad shepherds have let the people down badly. And here they are, beaten up, downtrodden, oppressed. So what does God do? He sends Christ, the good shepherd. That's the significance of the word. It means not just a nice pastoral image that we might see in our stained glass windows of lovely sheep and a lovely shepherd and isn't it beautiful? No, it's somebody coming to right wrongs, to give appropriate leadership that has the best interests of the people at heart, to deal perhaps in a gut-wrenching way with all sorts of things that are wrong. Wrong at a basic individual personal level, wrong at a societal level. He has come to transform. And that's the mission to which we are called. We, I'm afraid, have airbrushed history. In this country we've had a wake-up call as Edward Colston's statue was toppled. Our history is not one where the Brits have always been right and everybody else has always been wrong. No, not at all. We have things in our past which are shameful ourselves, because nobody's perfect. That's the other problem with statues, isn't it? They portray perfect people. Saints in our stained glass windows, saints in our statues, they look perfect, they look lovely. They were real people though. They were real people. And it's not, if you'll pardon the pun, black and white, it's shades of grey all the time. We're none of us totally bad, totally good. We need to deal with each other with compassion. see each other for who we are, realise that we're imperfect human beings, and listen to the call of Christ, which is simply, feel my heart. There's another statue I'm very fond of, and it's on Holy Island, Lindisfarne, off the northeast coast of Northumbria. And it stands in the grounds of the monastery, which is a ruined Norman building now, but originally the person portrayed in the statue, St Aidan, founded a Celtic monastery there many, many years ago in the 7th century. And he holds aloft a torch, although some would say it looks more like an ice cream cone, and you'll get the idea if you see the picture of the statue, which should be on screen as I speak. And the significance of Aidan is that he could have had anywhere to build his monastery. King Oswald gave him anywhere he wanted in the kingdom of Northumbria. And he said, no, I'll have this island. I'll have this island because it's symbolic. It's cut off from the land when it's at high tide, and we're cut off. We can seek God. We can seek the heartbeat of God, seek to feel his compassion for the world. And then when the tide recedes, the causeway to the mainland is open and we can go. Symbolically, it's open. We're connected with the world and we can be Christ's hands and feet. We can go and exercise and show his compassion in the world. What did Christ do after having compassion on the people in our gospel reading today? Well, he moved straight on to chapter 10, although he didn't know it at that time. And he sends out the 12 disciples with instructions to carry the message themselves, symbolically saying, well, it's over to you now. You continue this work. You continue to have compassion. You continue to heal in whatever way and form that means. We take inspiration, of course, from those who've gone before, but we realise they weren't perfect. We look to right wrongs where bad leadership, oppressive regimes, sheer ignorance perhaps, have left people ignored, downtrodden. We seek to stand against injustice and evil because that too needs to take place. If we say nothing, we're effectively complicit. We've had all sorts of strange things happen this year, haven't we? And we're not even halfway through yet. As we look carefully, perhaps fearfully, over the parapet of lockdown, as we consider how we might be in a new normal, what that new normal, as they say, might be, what it might look like, it's as well to remember what our priorities should be. Those priorities are set for us by Christ himself. It's people, it's justice, it's care, it's compassion. And if we do things apart from those things, those ideas, but more than ideas, feelings, passions, then we need to look in a mirror. Using a bit of prayer from Northumbria Community's book, let's commit those ideas to God, shall we? Then I heard a voice in heaven saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, here I am, send me. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. Deeper in my heart will I hear your call. I will cry for the desert until my eyes run with tears because people do not obey your laws. If I open my eyes to the world around me, if I open my heart to the people that surround me, then I feel pain and brokenness. I see suffering and injustice. Lord, see what evil the prince of this world is devising. Let the wind of your spirit blow and reverse the works of darkness, and your fire will cover the earth. Deliver us, Lord, from every evil, and grant us peace in our day. In your mercy, Lord, keep us free from sin and protect us from all anxiety as we wait in joyful hope for the coming of our Saviour, Jesus Christ. Let your kingdom come, Lord, in me. Amen. So, as I say, the hot news is that the church, St Margaret's Church, will be open from Monday. St Peter's Church, I think, will be open Wednesday this coming week, but look for signs on the church itself. And this will be for private individual prayer. We can't yet meet for worship. We're not permitted by the government. The government made this announcement just very recently. So we welcome you as you look for sanctuary, and we pray that you will find it in St Margaret's and St Peter's, the doors to which will be open as from Monday and Wednesday. My other bit of news is that, well, I'm taking a bit of time out. I haven't had a holiday since Christmas, and quite frankly I need one. The feeling I get at the moment is what the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard described as being trampled to death by geese. The sort of incessant chipping away at things, and I'm going to take a bit of time out. So there won't be a video reflection posted next Sunday the 21st or the following Sunday the 28th. However, there will still be reflections available from our benefice. So the lay ministers of our benefice, Paul Bailey, Christina Heath and Anita Haig, my wife, will be posting some written reflections which we'll put on our website, and I'll put a link to that in the comments below this video. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.